Right then. Do like a machine finish. Right, let's well, it looks about right. Sort of. Because where I need a rotating table, don't I? I need a rotary table to do that bit. That's what I need, and then I can just mill this bit out and bore me hole. Right, I need the rotary table. Reason I wind it that way? Because I've caught me plums on this handle before and it's not a good thing. Right, this thing is a beast. It's an absolute beast. Weighs like 38 kilos or something. It's monstrous. It's a Hilby. Made in England. Yes. And I don't know how often, but well, I know what this bit does. That makes it go round. There is a little bit of backlash in it. Actually, if I lock it, I'll take it round to so that's 0. So there's about 8 minutes. 8 minutes, is that? Yeah, 8 minutes of backlash in this thing. I don't know what that does. It is a pin. If I get that to 0. Come on. Right, does he go in? So it's got a couple of little indentations in there. I was thinking that might be a pin to... Right, that's 0. It's not locked. So that's a locating jobby. So that pin drops in on 0 degrees. So if we keep going, does it do... Oh, that way. Does it do 90? Yeah, it does 90. So I'm guessing it does 180 and stuff as well. Does it do anything else? No, it won't go in. Right, so if we keep pressure on that. Oh, hello. 150. Really? Why would you do 150? Oh, I suppose 60 degree increment, isn't it? Alright. So you should drop in again. Yeah, okay, so that pin goes in every 30 degrees. That's handy to know. Apart from that, there ain't anything else apart from this collar. I don't know what that collar does. It's got two... Oh, bloody hell. Right, I don't know, it's not moving. Right, let's... if I pull that out, I'm going to flip it over, because I think you can get into stuff from the bottom. Oh! Bloody hell. Come on, come back. Are you going to... Yeah. So I'm assuming that's almost like a Gibbs. There is 3 screws here and the bottom comes off. I just want to know if I can take out some of that backlash. Right, I'm trying to stay out the light just so you can see in here. There is bugger all to it. It is just made really, really heavy and sturdy. So on the outside, where's he gone? We've got a number of like oil points, which is feeding oil into the handle, and you know where the pins run and the locking bit, and there's another one down here which runs through. There's obviously a gallery that runs through this, and it goes to the bearing in the middle. The action is like really, really nice and smooth. The trouble that we've got, and I'll actually, where are you in the frame? Let me come around here. Right. If you look at this screw here, obviously this centre part is fixed to the table, yeah, the turntable, and it's basically just got grooves cut down the sides of it, and this screw here, the lead screw, basically just acts like a worm gear. But you can see as you move it between sort of engaging one way and then engaging the other, that's where the play is. And it is right in the middle, so I think we're just looking at a worn out lead screw basically. But the good news is if that bit comes off, which it looks like it does because there's a seam here, that bit could be remade. Right, I'm having another rethink. He's in. Basically I need to bore it out before I put that radius on it, or it's just going to be a nightmare to hold. So all I've done is shoved the collet back in it again. I've located my 10mm dowel in the hole. That was quick and easy, way quicker than trying to indicate it. And I know it's not the most accurate, but it's accurate enough for what I'm doing at the minute. So that'll, oh, hang on, before I start doing this, 0, 0. It can go down. So I need to get the boring head in. It is now another day, different t-shirt. Really haven't had that much time in here. However, machining takes ages. Well, actually it's not the machining. That bit is actually quite, so you get a capable machine like this, you can take quite a decent chunk out of it very accurately and everything else. It's all the other stuff that goes with it. So it's all the measuring and then setting up and then clamping it and then checking it and dialing it in or indicating it and blah, blah, blah. That's the stuff that takes a long time. And then you get so far and you find you need to make a thing, which I've made now, to do the job in the first place. So then you've got to go and make that, and then you've got to get that cock on, which means measuring it and blah, blah, blah. As far as measuring goes, we'll get to this in a second. As far as measuring goes, I used to think these were all right. They ain't. I mean, it goes down to 3 decimal places. Sort of in imperial, and metric is down to 2. So, you know, 10 micron and stuff, and you think, well, that's going to be quite accurate, isn't it? But you can, just by squeezing it a little bit, you can get different readings and stuff. So, you know, they are called guesstimators for a reason. It's not until you get into using this sort of stuff that you really start to understand there's a whole different level of precision involved in when you're doing all this sort of stuff. The DRO I'm very much treating as an indicator. So that basically gets me pretty bloody close, it has to be said, but then you have to check it, and when you check it you start to find, oh, it's a little bit off. But just using these takes practice, not as much practice as these bloody things. Where are they? Because obviously I've got a hole in the middle of this, I needed to know what size, so I've been using these telescoping bore gauges. They really do take a bit of practice. So I spent, today's Thursday, it's my day off, I've got the day in here and I'm getting this done, don't care. However, I spent literally, because I only get the mornings in it, and I spent a whole morning just practicing with micrometers and telescoping bore gauges. So what these do, it's like a spring-loaded jobby that you can lock it here. So the idea is you squash it and lock it off, stick it in a hole, undo it so it pops open again, and then you want just enough of a resistance so as you rock it past centre, the sides squish in, and then you can measure across the anvils with a micrometer and it'll tell you how big your hole is, basically. Easy, you'd think, but it ain't. And I literally spent the whole day just mucking about. I had a set of feeler gauges because I know how big they are, it's stamped on it. And then also had a bearing which I've not used. I know how big the hole in the middle of that is. You know, and it's ground and it's hardened and blah blah, it's a good practice thing. And using these is just like, well, you take one measurement and then you take it again just to be safe, and it's different. So you take it again, it's a little bit different again. And you keep getting, so it's a feel thing. And I was practicing with known dimensions of a bearing and a feeler gauge, trying to get a feel for, you know, when you've got this right and you can trust the reading on it. I mean, you are talking stupid amounts, but, you know, if you make a hole that's exactly 10 mil and you make a peg to go in that hole exactly 10 mil, it won't go. Need a little bit. And that's what brought me onto this thing. So I found out the dimensions of this and I've made this, and I spent ages trying to get it absolutely dead nuts cock on the numbers that I wanted using micrometers, having measured it with a telescoping bore gauge. And I'd left that bolt in there, I hadn't took it out, I'd forgotten, and everything has been covered in oil anyway. And when I went to put this in, it slid in, but I couldn't push it down. You push it down and it'd pop up again. So just the film of oil around the seating surfaces was enough to seal it and compress the air, so I couldn't get it all the way down. I had to take the bolt out. Come on. Come on, you went in. There we go. That is about as snug as it gets. Why has it gone dark? Why has it gone dark? It's summertime. Well, that really is as snug as it gets. I couldn't get it any closer. This is 8 microns off, according to this. But I do still need practice with it, because it is very much one of those tools where the more you use it, the better you're going to get. So he's in there and he ain't going anywhere. This can then go on top, which is an easier fit because it's got a slot in it. I'm going to put a sacrificial bit of something under there and then clamp it all down, and I'm just going to put like a radius on it, basically. But it's quite an eye-opener once you get into trying to get things really, really, really precise, because you can go down all sorts of rabbit holes. How much time do you want to put into it? That's a biggie. So I'm having to learn, you know, the compromise between close enough is good enough, and it might not be exactly what you want, but it'll do the job. Right, all I'm doing here is just getting most of the machine marks out. Oh, you must have heard that Mr. Man in his van. As soon as I start yapping, that's it, he's driving past. I don't know if you can hear her as well, but Mrs. Woman's down the way. Someone has upset her. She is giving it hell with that pressure washer today. Someone's not getting a Christmas card this year. This is going to be a hole in the rug that she's doing by the time she's done. So, but anyway, yeah, so all I'm doing is just giving it a brush finish. So WD-40, 320 grit emery cloth. This is just to stop it clogging up, basically. He's back again. And literally all I'm doing is just putting a brush finish on it. Get rid of the swirl marks and machine marks and just make it look a little bit more uniform. I could spend ages on it, but I really don't need to. At the end of the day, oh, there's another one there. Mr. Man in a blue van. At the end of the day, it is just a bracket to hold on a brake reservoir. That is it. And that is all it is. So, you know, it really doesn't need to, well, it doesn't need to be anything as fancy as that even. But doing this has served quite a few purposes, really. Me and Brian is still getting used to one another. We have had to change his bearings, we have had to tweak them up, we have had to monkey about with the gibs and all sorts of stuff. But having these little projects to do, it gives you something like real to work on instead of just facing off a bit of something. Because the finishes I was getting end milling compared to side milling was very different. Speeds and stuff had to be different as well, but you know, unless you're actually doing a project, you ain't going to find all that stuff out. There's also an opportunity to get an awful lot better at just measuring stuff as well, with the micrometers and telescoping bore gauges and whatnot. Because I definitely needed to practice, and it showed up as soon as I started doing this. So, you know, it's been a worthwhile exercise and everything. So a combination of these and the chain adjusters has been time well spent, I think, because I think we're now ironed out all the issues that I had with Brian, and it puts us in good stead for doing that, because that turned up today, and that is going to be my yokes. They're buried in there somewhere, we've just got to find out where they are. And I'm itching to get on with that. 6082 grade alley, which is like one of the stronger grades that you can get. It's for general structure, basically, is how it's termed, not just cosmetic stuff and that. And I would tend to think yokes is a little bit on the structural side. So that's what we're going to be doing next. I have got a couple of models, a little bit different, and I will show you in the next video, you know, what my thoughts were and everything else. I do need to model up the speedo, because one of them, that's all integrated part and parcel of it, and either way it's got to mount onto this. So I'll whiz that up dead quick, just do like a really basic looking one, and then we can see how it's all going to go together, and we can get on with it instead of just yapping about it. But I have put as much effort into that as I want to put into it, so it's just a bracket. Right, I'm just going to drill and tap it, and then we're shoving it on the bike. Wipe all the grubby paw prints off. I quite like it because the bolt that secures everything together is hidden right underneath and at the front of the reservoir, so when you're up on the bike you're not even going to see it on the bike, and you can't see it from the front, which was all part of the plan. I like that it fills in that whole gap instead of, you know, a gap and then a thing and then a gap and then another thing. So that's all right. I'll probably do something completely different when I project build the bike anyway, but for now I've got a master reservoir that ain't going anywhere. It ain't twisting side to side. I can move the bike. It ain't going front to back. It doesn't spin on the on the bar. It's just all clamped down with one bolt, which you can't see, which I like. Right, let's put some stuff away because I've got a barbecue. Right then, he did great. He'll be. I'm pleased with that as well. It's a really cool little thing actually. I know it's just a stupid little bracket and everything else, but I've got a chance to play with more of the tooling that I've not used on Brian, on the mill. We've had a look inside here, so I know that that lead screw, you know, the worm gear, obviously needs to be remade and stuff, but even so I can turn out quite a nice radius, and it's all sort of done. That was all done by eye. I wasn't going off the degree markers or anything else, because I didn't put that on the drawing. However, I am confident enough, I think, now to have a crack at this. It's not bad, is it? I don't know how square it is, but there's chunks missing out of it, so it's all going to need to be squared up and everything anyway. Oh, where's my Speedo? One of them, one of them, one of them. Where's that other thing? Is it that? Yeah. There we go. This is what I need to take home and play about with. The idea, actually, can you see the bike from there? No. Can you see the bike now? Yeah, sort of. Right, so I've got a GPS speedo. It is just a basic GPS speedo. I just want to keep everything as simple as I possibly can do. Now with the headlamp bowl, by the time that's all mounted and everything else, it's going to come out sort of here, I suppose. And what Steve-O wants on Jixit is he wants to sync his instruments into the bowl. So it'd just be like a piece of tube married up to the bowl, and it'll all be part and parcel of the same thing. Because he's doing that, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. So what I'm thinking of is my big old bit of alley. I'm obviously going to be remaking the top yokes, and they're going to drop down the side, so the forks is going to go you know, sort of 40 mil further through than what they are at the minute. Handlebars and that will be at the same place, but all this gap here is going to be took up. And what I'm thinking of doing is, once I've done the front of the yokes, I'm probably going to get one of them tilting machine beds. You can set it at any angle, but then you can bolt strap clamps or anything else that you want to it. So I can bore at an angle, and I'm thinking of scalloping out the front of the yoke, so I can make that part and parcel of the yoke instead of having a key jobby, because the key jobby's going to go. So it's going to be part and parcel of the yoke like that, and then I'll just mount up underneath it. I've got some stuff to do it. Let me show you. I'm nicking this idea off Craig Jones. Full disclosure, I saw him using these things. I thought he just used them to make his dummy oil tanks, but he got littler ones and he made a instrument cluster out of it, a very nice looking instrument cluster. So I went online and had a look see, and I've got a piece of tube that will go into. There is a little bit of a gap around it because I can't get the exact size, and there is going to be a little bit of a gap around that, but chop that in half so you get like a nice rounded finish to it, and weld that in there with a little collar, then chop it down to about here, so that speedo will just sink into it, and it's no deeper than it needs to be. I'll keep it as short as I possibly can do, and basically you've got the start of quite a nice little instrument cluster, really, just like a little housing. I don't even need to use half a ball, just a little bit of it like that is what I'm thinking. I don't know, we'll play about with that. But anyway, once all that's done and dusted and sorted, I can drill the back side of it. So this is where the main bike is, that's the front of the bike. I can put a hole in the back of it so I can get a spanner up to do the fixings, and that means I've also got somewhere to route cabling out of as well. So it will, but it's not going to be watertight because there is going to be a hole in it, but that will have a grommet in it, so nothing really should get in there. Nothing at all. I can O-ring the top of it so it seals against the clock, so that'll be all right. So the idea is, with all that put together and my nice new yokes made, so you've got to imagine that bit, if I goes to get one of them tilting milling tables. Basically it's a plate that you can bolt stuff to, vices, strap clamps, whatever. But then you can also tilt the whole thing and lock it in place at any angle you want. So that means I could bolt this to it, tilt the whole thing at an angle, and then I could bore down into it, so I could set this into the yoke, which could be quite cool, I reckon. We'll have a little plate underneath it so it bolts up underneath the yoke so you don't see any fixings, because I don't like fixings. We'll actually inset this into the yokes. The only trouble with that is this has only got main beam, left and right turn signals, that's it, and the odometer. So I've got some of these little bullet lights as well. The 12 volt, completely waterproof. It's all sealed units and everything else, but in a pack you get red, white, blue, yellow and green. So stuff like all light, neutral light, which isn't on that, which I really do want, I could have on here. And I could either set just one either side of the speedo that sits in there, which I will probably end up doing, or I could have a red all light, I could have, what would we have, a green turn signal, a yellow neutral and a blue main beam, but do them in an arc so it follows the circumference of the speedo. And just all I'll do is I'll mill them so they're sort of deep set in. Now I've got like a little cone thing. I'll get some pictures of these and stick them up. Now I've got like a little cone jobby going on. But I reckon with a little bit of monkeying about, these could actually be a really nice, neat little solution. Because I could drill and thread it and shove these in with a bit of Loctite. It's all waterproof, nothing's going to hurt it. And it'll just all be part and parcel of the top yoke then. But I like the idea because it would keep all the instrumentation close in rather than having it stuck out. I can rubber mount the thing from underneath where it bolts into the yokes, and it means I can have the headlamp as snug into the bike as I possibly can do rather than sticking out. Right, well there you go then, that's it. At least I got my bracket sorted and the reservoir's back on and it ain't going anywhere, so, and you can't see the fixings, so that's it, job done. It has been a worthwhile exercise, as well as getting better at the measuring and all that other sort of stuff. I am now confident enough with Brian to have a crack at doing the yokes. So I am missing some stuff. I'm going to need to get one of them. I'm going to get one anyway, one of them tilting tables, just because it's going to be handy for doing all sorts of stuff anyway. There's a few different options, some pricier than others, but I want something that's going to be solid and rigid because the rest of the machine is. So I ain't going to skimp out on it, and it costs what it costs. What I'm going to do is take that lot home, I'll CAD it all up, and I'll put a thing up with a couple of models so you can see the differences. And I would be interested to hear your thoughts, especially if anybody has used these. You can use these on motorcycles and boats, apparently. That's what they're used for. They are waterproof because they're going on a boat, although not in this case. I'll just be interested to see if anyone's had any, good news with them or bad news, or if it's just not worth doing or whatever. But I think it could be quite an elegant solution. Simple, all the wiring will be hidden and it will just look nice. Ultimately, I want rid of all this lot, and if this works out, then I can use it when I project it as well. That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. That's where I'm leaving it for this one. Hope you're staying well. We will see you on the next one. Laters!